Bears and #1 overall pick Caleb Williams have agreed to a rookie deal. The former USC quarterback is reportedly getting a 4-year deal worth $39 million, including $25 million at signing.
I'm actually quite surprised. We went a whole 4 months without making a single video on Caleb Williams, and to be honest, I was expecting more news to come out about this guy the moment he got drafted into the NFL, but so far, it seemed to be smooth sailing for Caleb Williams up until recently. And a lot of this is consistent with what's been going on with him off of the field over the past year. So before we get to the content, we're still giving away copies of College Football 25 on my Instagram and on my Twitter. Links to both giveaways are in the description down below. And now that we get all of that out of the way, work! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Caleb Williams was hyped up as being that next generational prospect, the most transcendent quarterback talent that we've ever seen since Trevor Lawrence, and the most sure thing we've seen at the position since Andrew Luck. And the problem with Caleb Williams wasn't necessarily the product on the field, although there are some concerns of what he can do on the field. For one, he's 6'1", so he doesn't necessarily have prototypical QB size, and there were questions about whether or not his improvisational abilities would be able to translate to the NFL the way it has for Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. There's questions about whether or not he could play in an NFL system that wasn't so dependent on his improvisational ability, but ultimately none of this scared off the Chicago Bears, who decided to move on from Justin Fields and select Caleb Williams with the #1 overall pick in this past year's NFL draft. To be honest, I don't think it was the wrong decision. If you hit on Caleb Williams, considering everything else that the Chicago Bears have done up until this point, there's no question that you could win a Super Bowl by the time Caleb Williams' rookie contract expires. But we didn't really comment on his red flags on the football field, because for the most part, Caleb Williams was who he was. He had a Heisman Trophy winning season at USC, and then the very next year, the team around him got significantly worse. He did play in a lesser conference with the Pac-12, but for the most part, if Caleb Williams' game translates to the NFL, everyone was dubbing him as the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. But there's significant differences between Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes, especially off of the football field. And no, it's more dense than the fact that Caleb Williams likes to paint his fingernails and Patrick Mahomes doesn't. You see, from the very beginning, there were questions about Caleb Williams' behavior off of the field. Some of them didn't really pertain directly to him. But 1 year ago, his father, Carl Williams, asked for one of the most ridiculous requests that I think I've ever seen in NFL history. And that's the fact that Caleb Williams wanted equity in the team that ended up drafting him. Now, to give you an idea of how difficult this was to do, one, a player never has held equity in a team that he's playing for. Tom Brady was trying to do it after his years in Tampa Bay. He wanted to play for the Las Vegas Raiders while also being a minority owner of the Raiders. And as entertaining as this would have been, the NFL decided against it. In addition to this, Aaron Rodgers also attempted to do the same thing, but the NFL barred it from happening. And all you can really tell from this is the NIL deals are really starting to go to these young athletes' heads. I mean, receiving that amount of money when you're just 19 or 20 years old, it definitely does something to your brain chemistry. This was a request that his father made, and it was just the very first in a series of things that Caleb Williams was trying to do that no other athlete has done, pretty much convey the fact that he is unlike any athlete you've ever seen before. And I get it. I mean, when you're literally driving Lightning McQueen Ferraris to your college campus and you earned it just based off of your talent as a football player, I could get why you believe you deserve a portion of the team that you're going to play for, I think. And it didn't really help that most Chicago Bears fans didn't want the Chicago Bears to move on from Justin Fields. I mean, you remember what DJ Moore said when the season ended for the Chicago Bears?
Somebody asked me that last week. I'm still like, bruh, where are y'all seeing this? Like, what makes him not the quarterback for the Chicago Bears right now? I get y'all got everybody coming out. What, it's like 2 of them? I don't think they better than Justin, so they cool.
But throughout the entire pre-draft process, everybody knew where Caleb Williams was going to go. The Bears would eventually trade Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers for pennies on the dollar. And throughout the entire pre-draft process, Caleb Williams would say stuff like this.
Where do you want to be?
Whoever picks first.
it's been a dream of mine to go first. And so whoever picks first, can't wait.
But more weirdness would ensue. For instance, Caleb Williams refused to do medical exams at the draft combine, citing this as his reason.
And obviously when you start doing things that's not traditional, whether you're at a school like USC.
And I support you 100%.
Yeah,
Trust me.
Whether you're here at the combine that's been going on for, I don't know how many years, but a long time.
Right.
And so I'd say the main thing has just been, it was a decision with my family and my team. And it really came down to not all 32 teams can draft me, so I give all 32 teams.
Yeah.
My personal medical things, there's nothing there. Played all 30, how many ever games I played.
I don't even remember you being banged up like the slightest.
I've never came off the field unless my helmet came off and the ref took me off.
Right.
And so, my thing has just been, give it to the teams that are going to pursue me. So on my visits, I'll be doing medicals, but just decided not to do it here. In a sense, I have an idea of where I'm going to go, not the place, but the
general area of the draft.
We know the spot.
You're going in the top 2 picks. You're going number 1, bro.
Yeah,
Just to let you know, you're going 1.
When people had legitimate concerns for his character because, well, he cried after a loss in the middle of a Pac-12 season, which bear in mind, this wasn't a national championship game. This was a regular season game that he lost. So you can make an argument that this either seems very in touch with his emotions or it makes him seem very weak because he's literally crying in his mother's arms after he loses. And he even called out those people.
People in the world to get to experience what I experience every game day, every practice day. So it kind of goes back to, it always kind of goes back to that for me. It's, it's something that I only get to experience. It's something that I really care about, which is not only winning the game, but, doing it with my teammates. So every time we lose, I feel like I let my teammates down.
And honestly, man, I know that you're a professional football player and you're in the limelight and people are crucifying you mainly because, well, you do a lot of odd stuff like demanding a percentage of a team that you have yet to play for without even knowing what that team is, or trying to abstain from the norm as much as you can because you think you're God's gift to the earth. But whenever you think you're God's gift to the earth, people are gonna come after you. And when you call people sheep, that's not gonna help people think that you're any less of a diva.
I mean, everybody wants to be in these 12.5 shoes right here.
Some opinion of a sheep, clients don't worry about that. So, keep moving on, keep fighting. Fight on.
Eventually, he would get drafted by the Chicago Bears, and for the most part, this was all laid to rest, as it should, because with all due respect, I don't think there's been a quarterback in NFL history that has been placed in a better situation in his rookie season than Caleb Williams has. I mean, when you take a look at quarterbacks that get drafted number 1 overall, typically they're going to rosters completely devoid of any assets, devoid of any players that could help them make a push into playoff contention. I mean, take a look at Bryce Young, for crying out loud. The guy had to throw the football to Adam Thielen, who is still a solid player, but is not the Adam Thielen of 2017. And that was about it. You look at CJ Stroud, and he was able to make lemonade out of his offense, but that's also because the Houston Texans had a historic draft class that year. You look at Trevor Lawrence, and his rookie season was horrible, honestly. And a huge portion of that is due to coaching and also not really having any help offensively. Except for Tim Tebow at tight end. They thought that was a good idea for some reason. But in the case of Caleb Williams, this guy has anything that a quarterback would ever want to ask for. Yeah, the offensive line could be slightly better, but the Chicago Bears already had DJ Moore. Then they decided to trade for Keenan Allen, and even despite that, they decided to draft Rome Odunze, a player that they were willing to trade up for, by the way, just based off of their general manager's reaction to the Atlanta Falcons selecting Michael Penix. Literally, the Bears really took a lap around the Falcons for making this horrible decision. I mean, you could tell that the Bears were willing to trade up to number 8 because they were so worried that they were going to take Rome Odunze at number 8, but they got to stand pat and select Caleb Williams' best friend without really needing to give up much in order to get him. Now, you might be wondering why I'm bringing all this up. Well, a little bit more weirdness would ensue. And no, it's not the same category of weird as Caleb Williams walking past Keenan Allen and pretending not to see him until the very last second, which to this day is still my favorite clip of Caleb Williams of all time, but rather it's the fact that Caleb Williams is in the middle of negotiating a contract with the Chicago Bears, and these contracts are supposed to be very easy to negotiate. I mean, it's your rookie contract. It's not like it was in 2011 where the #1 overall pick could come in and negotiate any sum of money with his team. There's set contracts that each and every pick gets paid, depending on the position that they're playing in as well. And this is where it gets really confusing, because Adam Schefter says that the contract between Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears is officially done. A 4-year fully guaranteed deal worth $39 million that includes a $25.5 million signing bonus and a 5th-year team option per sources. This seems very standard. I mean, I don't think there's anything crazy about this. But according to Mike Florio, Bears and quarterback Caleb Williams continue to haggle over remaining language in his rookie deal. And there's one clause that definitely won't be added. Per multiple sources, Williams asked the Bears to agree not to use their franchise tag upon the expiration of his rookie contract. The Bears have declined. It's really fascinating to see a player ask for this, but according to Florio, multiple veteran players have secured such a commitment, like Dak Prescott, but no rookie has finagled a promise that they won't be tagged. Williams arguably had the leverage to accomplish it, but the best time to use that leverage would have been before the draft. Prior to the adoption of the rookie wage scale in 2011, teams with the first overall pick would often negotiate with multiple players before the draft, hoping to entice one of them to agree to terms. Nowadays, with top prospects bringing bank accounts stuffed with NIL cash to the NFL, someone like Williams could say, for example, drop the franchise tag or I won't play for you. And if you draft me, I'll sit out the entire season and re-enter the draft next year. A lot of fans are wondering, why would Caleb Williams want such a clause? Well, you take a look at Dak Prescott's situation right now, and he literally has the Dallas Cowboys by the balls. I mean, the Cowboys backloaded Dak Prescott's contract like crazy. So you either extend Dak Prescott because you can't franchise tag him due to the cause that you gave him, or you take the cap hit on the chin and let him walk away, which is crazy because typically when a QB just walks away, you don't incur such a cap hit. But of course, Dak's contract was backloaded, or you trade him, which most teams probably won't trade for Dak or won't give you equal value to Dak because, well, if you're trying to move on from him, you could probably just sign him outright and not give up draft compensation. In the case of Caleb Williams, the reason why he'd try to do such a thing is either one, he wants to secure a long-term contract, but if he doesn't agree to that long-term contract, he'd be able to walk away easily and he'd be able to choose his second team after his rookie scale contract expires. The problem is that we still haven't seen Caleb Williams play a single down in the NFL. And I just want people to remember that. We've seen the most pro-ready quarterbacks in NFL history in the greatest of circumstances fail miserably in the NFL. And I think the fact that Caleb is asking for all this stuff before even playing a single down in the NFL is just insane. And it seems like the stuff that should be relatively easy with Caleb Williams is going to be hard with him. Especially if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm not going to try to give Caleb Williams such a clause ever. You've seen how difficult he's been so far, wanting equity in his team, declining medical examinations. And it seems like if you give him even the slightest bit of leverage, he'll use it against you in the future. Regardless, I think Caleb is going to have a great season, but the person that I don't think is going to have a great year at all whatsoever is Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless has officially been fired. We have a whole video on that, and we'll leave it in the end screen. I'll explain to you what happened there. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.